So the parsha about Beha'alosecha is a very special parsha. The beginning of the parsha talks about lighting of the candles of the menorah. Aaron HaKohen lit the menorah. Doesn't only mean he lit the actual menorah, but he also lit the souls of the Jewish people that are compared to fire, compared to candles. 7 candles, 7 different types of Jews serving Hashem in 7 different ways, corresponding to the midas, 7 emotional attributes. But that's not the point. The point is,
It's very deep, but it's still not the point.
not the point. The point that I wanted to bring out is what's on the board there. That the actual name of the parsha is Beha'alosecha, when you will cause the rising of the candles. Normally would say when you kindle the candles. Hadlikach. Hadlaka means to light. It doesn't say that. It says when you will cause the rising. Cause some kind of rising. What is that supposed to mean? So Rashi says, Ad shetehei, it's on the board, shalheves ola me'eleha. And the flame, you can't just light it and then walk away. Make sure the flame is self-sustained. It rises on its own. Shalheves is the flame. Ola rises me'eleha, by itself, on its own. It doesn't need the one who kindled it anymore. You can go away and it will last. What does that mean in terms of us, ourselves, and how we affect other people? Well, first of all, how it affects ourselves. We have Aaron HaKohen. We also have the Aaron HaKohen in every generation, the Rebbe. We have little Aaron, which are the teachers, educating the students, whatever school it is. In here, this school, we also have teachers. I have to be one of them. And our job is to try to inspire you. By me, I get inspired. I think I get more inspired from you than I inspire you, but I try to inspire. I try to inspire. Never misses. I try to inspire my best. I used to be much better at it when I was younger, much more lively than I am now. But we try very hard. I'm talking to myself, but I'm sure others who are more successful than me. Invigorate a life, light your candles, light your neshamas. But the question is, what happens when you leave? When you leave, are you going to still have that flame burning, or are you going to need the teachers to come back and give you some more fuel? So the idea is that the teacher should be so inspiring that the students who receive this fire should not have to need the mashpia anymore. You are yourself a mashpia. You're so full of chayis that you can give other people chayis. That's a sign that the mashpia was successful if the mushpa, the one who received the direction in life, is so infused with inspiration that you can inspire other people too. If all you can do is take the inspiration, but you can't inspire others, it's the fault of the teacher. In this case, it's me. So when you leave, I'm getting close to that. If you're leaving for good, leaving just for the year, whoever's leaving, keep the fire going. Let the shalheves, not gachelet. Gachelet means a coal. Shalheves means a fire that everyone can see, a burning fire. You walk in the street, people go, wow, this girl is full of life. Ola, and you're not just going, flat. There's also good when going, moving. You're rising. Shalheves ola, rising. And me'aleha, I don't need any, to remember what I was taught. It's ingrained in my heart and soul. I have now enough to give to others. And when you give to others, you should also give in such a way where all the others can also feel self-sustained in your hashpah. That's one of the. I also want to tell you, I'm not here to give a shalom bias class. I'm going to have this week. What you had already, I'm not sure. But I will tell you one thing. One of the segulot, what segula means? The segula for shalom bias is having a nice Jewish-looking home, so that I don't have to see the mezuzah. I can tell the Jewish home by looking at, wow, look at those sforim, look at those books all around, surrounded with holiness, surrounded with an aura of kedusha. It will affect you. It will affect serenity, peace in the home, because the books, the sforim, are Sfarim of Hashem. These are Torah's Hashem. And Torah is one with God. And Hashem is the peacemaker, ultimate peacemaker. People tell me when you walk in, I have a lot of Sfarim in my home, all around. My wife says, I think next thing you're gonna do is put it in the kitchen. You're gonna put some Sfarim maybe in the refrigerator. I'm not gonna go that far. My brother, by the way, has much more Sfarim than I have, more than twice as much. So if I have 3,000, he has over 7,000. Everywhere, where you go. Difference is he has an office of his own Sfarim that he wrote. Wow, I was right. I try to learn some of them, and he actually knows every sefer that he has. You're interested? We try to test him. I pick out a random sefer that not very well known sefer, and I gave it to him. He felt it. Oh, this sefer is so and so. Then I just opened up page. I throw out a question that the sefer asked. Yeah. And the answer is kach v'kach. The answer is such and such. So he knows his Sfarim very well. I just have them. But even having them is also very important. So when you get married to Mr. Hashem, make sure that you buy your own Sfarim, especially Hetevis, but make sure your chassan, whoever you're married to, is someone who enjoys having Sfarim. It'll affect the home in a very special way. You don't have to have it, top the ceiling to the floor, but it should be, you walk into a home, you shouldn't see a fish tank or a TV set, It should be obvious this is a Jewish home, not just a Hasidic home, with warmth, welcoming guests. Person walks in, Shalom Aleichem, how are you? Get Shabbos, get Yontif. I'm telling you, these are small things, but it's so powerful. So that the Sfarim are like talking, are reminding you, open me up, learn from me. I'm here. Here I am. There's a Chumash. How about learning Chitas? There's a Mishnah. There's a Siddur. Don't forget the daven. We ever talked about kids having a pushka box in their homes, in their rooms, a tzedakah box, a Mishnah, a Mishnayos, or a Chumash, and a Siddur. That the Siddur, the Chumash, it's almost like, even though you put the Chumash in your room, but now the Chumash is on its own. It's telling you, it received from you the ability to be in a room, and you put it in the room. But once you put it in the room, now it screams out, no, daven, no, learn, no, give tzedakah. These are the Rebbe's words. So it's very important to be ashal heves ha'oila me'eleha, that you should be rising on your own, both within your own self. That your nature, your natural self should be in tune with Yiddishkeit. You shouldn't have to work constantly, try to remember this, to remember that. It should be part of your second nature. But there's also another reason why it says, on one second, why it says Beha'alosecha, the name of the parsha. Instead of just kindling, it says rising. You know the Kohen, even though he was very tall, Aaron Kohen was no short guy. He was pretty tall. And the menorah was not that high. It was only about 6 feet tall. So even someone like me, I'm not very tall. I can light the menorah without standing. I could light it easily without having to, stand on my tippy toes or stand on anything. Yet Aaron Kohen, who was tall, when he lit the menorah, he stood on a little platform. Beha'alosecha, when you, Aaron, will rise. That means if you have an effect on other Jews, you rise. When you become Aaron HaKohen's, you do Aaron HaKohen's job of kindling other souls, you get to rise as well. And even before you do it, even before you have hashpah on someone, the mere fact that you're ready to do it already gives you an elevation. You're elevated the moment you decide you want to help someone else. So these two pirushim, that the flame has to be rising and that you have to rise, go hand in hand. Comprendos? Sí. Comprendo. Gracias. Okay. Now, anyone could tell me before we go to see the Sicha inside, can anyone tell me how is this parsha different than every other parsha in the entire Chumash? Okay, and if you can tell me it's the only parsha that's called Beha'alosecha, that's not the answer anymore. Every name, there's no two parshas that have the same name. So what is special about this parsha that you might not know, you haven't heard in the other classes? It's an actual Gemara. Yeah. Should mine?
Sorry.
I always wanted mine.
Oh.
Why shouldn't I
Is
mine?
it the B'nai Israel are mentioned in one concept or one concept or whatever, 5 times.
Uh, I don't know. I have to check it out. That's not what I was thinking of.
Okay.
I have to check it out. But no, something much more novel than that.
Oh,
Something like, what? You look at me and say, are you kidding me, Rabbi? I don't believe that. Show me the proof. It's a Gemara in Tractate Shabbos, 116a. In case you want to remember, look it up. You have Art Scroll, 116a, I think, if I'm not mistaken. How many chumash? How many chumash do we have? How many? We have 5. You know, we have 7. There's 5, but there's also 7. Because Bamidbar is divided into 3. Beginning of Bamidbar until the word Vayi bin Soah Ha'aron Vayomer Moshe. You know, when the Sefer Torah comes out, people say Vayi. They should even sing a song. Vayi bin Soah Ha'aron Vayomer Moshe. Tuk Kum Hashem Yaput Zayvecha. Rise Hashem. Let all your enemies disperse. Yanusu Misanecha, and all those that hate you, let them flee for their lives. Uvanucho, when the Mishkan, when the ark will stand, will rest. Yomar Shuva Hashem Ribavais Alpi Yisrael. These are 2 psukim that are mentioned in this week's parsha. 2 psukim constitute an entire chumash. You know that? It's called the Chumash of Vayi ben Soha Aron. It's only 2 psukim, 85 letters. 85 letters. This year is 5, 7, 85. 85 letters, and it constitutes an entire chumash. So Bamidbar, from the beginning of Bamidbar, which was 2 weeks ago, until the words Vayi ben Soha Aron is 1 part of Bamidbar. Those 2 psukim are a 2nd part of Bamidbar, and after those 2 psukim, until the end of Chumash Bamidbar, is a 3rd chumash of Bamidbar. So Bamidbar is divided into 3. You have Bereshis, Shmos, Vayikra, and Bamidbar is 3. So Bereshis 1, Shmos 2, Vayikra 3. Bamidbar is 3 more, that's 6, and Devarim is 7. That's what it says. And it's interestingly that this is the parsha that has 7 candles. 7 candles, 7 chumash. Not everyone knows this. It's the only chumash, only parsha that the parsha itself and has a whole chumash of its own. It's not very well known, but this is what the Gemara says in Tractate Shabbos. Now here's a Sicha. It's about Pesach Sheni. I once discussed it, I think, before, but never learned it inside. Because today's chitas is all about you can always have a second chance. Don't ever give up on yourself. There's always but that's not the motto of what we're going to be dealing with today. It's actually a Rashi Sicha. We have anyone need this? And it starts off. I'm going to skip a lot here because it's whenever I finish the Sicha, if I learn the whole Sicha, it's a long Sicha. You know, there's no chronological order in Torah. That's well known throughout the Chumash. Anyone remember some places? I mean, this is be very good if you remember. Where does Rashi say the first time that there's no chronological order? That the Chumash is not in order, not in time order. Things that happen. Huh? First passing in Chumash?
yeah, and then if that would be.
No, there's no really. Where's the out of order? How is it out of order? That's what you mean. Yeah, but it's not okay. But it's still talking about creation. Creation happened first before the mitzvah, so it's not out of order in time. God created the world. That's the first thing that happened. Created the world, and later on, He gave mitzvah. Rashi's only saying, "Who cares about creation? Get to the point. Why do I have to know about the fact that God created the world? Let's just get to the point that Torah is a book of mitzvahs. Get to the mitzvah, but it's not out of order chronologically. The first place, I don't think you would remember this. There's a Rashi in Bereshis, also in Bereshis, that says, Hashem says, I'm going to give you 120 years to the Mabul, during Mabul, to do tshuva. 120 years. But the problem is, that pasuk is said after Yefes was born. Noach had 3 sons, Shem, Cham, and Yefes. Yefes was the youngest. Yefes was just born. And then Hashem says, I'll wait 120 years to bring the Mabul. How old was Yefes when the Mabul occurred? Not 120, 100. But Hashem said 120. You know why? Because that rule, I'll give you 120 years, that last chance that Hashem said, I will wait 120 years before I bring the Mabul. He said those words 20 years before Yefes was born. Even though it's written after, But that pasuk, although it's written after, really was meant to be said before. Another example. Talk loud about you on Shabbos.
Okay.
And that only good things.
Okay.
Only good things.
Relax.
Huh?
Relax right now.
What?
Relax.
I should relax.
כן, now. I'm relaxed.
Oh, you relax. I'm also
כן.
relaxed. I'm always relaxed. But when I'm nervous.
Good talk.
I gotta say. Oh. And Vayishlach, that's before the whole story of Yosef being sold. Vayishlach, which Sedra is the Sedra that Yosef is sold? Joseph is sold. Which Sedra is that? Like once? Vayeshev. I know that. Vayeshev. Sedra before Vayeshev is Vayishlach. It says Vayishlach, Yitzchak died. Died then? Yitzchak lived how many years? I'm guessing you right now. Huh? 180. Abraham 135. 180 years. How old was Yitzchak when Yosef was sold? He was only 168. Yet the Torah tells us that he passed away before he passed away. It says in Vayishlach he passed away. He didn't pass away in Vayishlach. How do we know that? Because later on, when Yaakov was mourning after Yosef, Yitzchak was mourning after Yaakov. He was so sad that because he knew that Yosef was alive, and he was mourning. Why is my son so sad? I mean, I feel he felt so terrible that his son Yaakov was mourning. So Yitzchak was still alive when Yosef was sold. He had 12 more years of his life. How do we know he was 168 years old with the whole calculation? How much older was Yitzchak than Yaakov? How old was Yitzchak when Yaakov was born? You know, I just told us. It says that Yitzchak was 60 years old. Right? Okay. He was 60 years old when Yaakov was born. Okay. How old was Yaakov when he got the brachos? You know, Yaakov brachos? Who knows? Anyone know? Who can know these things? 63. He wasn't like a 13-year-old kid. 63. They were both 63 years old. How many years did he learn before he went to Lavan? How many years did he learn Torah in the Beis Medrash? 14 years. So he was 77. 63 plus 14, 77. He's 77. He meets Lavan. He works for Lavan 7 years and again 7 years. 77 and 14 is 91, and Yosef is born. So Yaakov was 91 years old when Yosef was born. How old was Yosef when he was sold? Again, Yaakov had Yosef when he was 91. How old was Yosef when he was sold? 17 years. So now how old would Yaakov be when Yosef is sold? If Yaakov was 91 when Yosef was born, 17 years later he would be 108. How much older is Yitzchak and Yaakov? 60 years. So if Yaakov was 108, how old was Yitzchak? 168. But he lived 180. So when Yosef was sold, Yitzchak was 168. He was still alive. And yet the Torah writes that he passed away long before Yosef was sold. It's not in chronological order. Another example. It says that Moshe Rabbeinu took his wife and his kids and put them on the donkey to go to Mitzrayim from Midian. And then he took it, and then after it says he arrived in Mitzrayim, Vayikach Moshe es hamata. Moshe took his staff. He took his staff before. Moshe took his staff before he traveled, not after he arrived. So it's out of order. We see that sometimes a pasuk can be out of order. It's a klal, it's a rule in the entire Torah. Torah is not a history book. It's not a history book. It's a book of how to live your life. If it would be a history book, it'd be all in chronological order. It's not. So here comes a Rashi, and Rashi says, as if it's the first time we heard this, because the pasuk in this week's parsha talks about what? Talks about the Korban Pesach, and it mentions that Hashem spoke to Moshe on the second year, not the year when he came out of Egypt, the following year, in the first month. He told him, make sure that all the Jews will offer Paschal offering, the Korban Pesach. Then it says every Jew did it, except for two. They complained, Lama Nigara, why should we be left out? Moshe says, wait a second, let me talk it over with Hashem. You imagine. Let me speak it over. My good friend God. And Hashem tells him, tell them the following: you have a second chance. Don't make not you can't do it now, but next month all the rules will apply. You'll have the Korban Pesach. It's not too late. You're not going to miss out. But the parsha begins with which month? Month of Nisan. That's this week's parsha. Parsha Bamidbar, the beginning of Bamidbar, talks about counting. When Hashem counted the Jewish people, what month was that? Iyar, the next month. So the beginning of Bamidbar talks about Iyar. It says clearly the second year, the second month. And two parshas later, two sedras later in Beha'alosecha, this week's parsha, it says something that happened the first month, Nisan, out of order. But Rashi, what is Rashi trying to tell us? We know that already. This is not something new. We already know from all the other examples I gave you that the Torah is not in order. So what is the novelty of this week's parsha? Why is this so important that Rashi has to say it over again? You know what? There's no before and there's no after. Just by the way, parenthetically, I want to stop here for a second. Don't get off guard too much. My teacher, not my teacher, but my colleague, actually, my teacher in Morristown, so Rabbi Greenberg, a good, very special Jew, not here with us anymore, but he would always quote the following: Ein mukdam u'uchar b'Torah. What does that mean? Simple meaning: there's no order in time. Things that happen later can be written first. It could also mean ein mukdam. It's never too early and never too late to learn. Someone is, you're too young. I'm not old enough. I'm a baby. Or I'm too old. Listen, I've gone through any I'm in an old age home. Ein mukdam u'ein mukdam u'uchar. It's never too early and never too late when it comes to Torah learning. That's not the simple. That's okay. Now, so the Rebbe says something very, very novel here in the Sicha. I want to skip this part, and I'll get to the meat of the Sicha. This is the Rashi part. Says the Rebbe, you know what Rashi's chiddush over here is? His chiddush is, I understand the Torah is not our history book, but when Torah starts giving you dates, starts acting like it is interested in history, such as in the pasuk. Look at the first pasuk. What's the pasuk say? It says clearly when it happened. By Dabar Hashem el Moshe, I'll take a chumash here. Here's the actual chumash. I'll read it for you. Read the chumash. Nothing better than that. Dabar al Aaron. No, not here. I'm sorry, the wrong one. Shlishi. By Dabar Hashem el Moshe b'midbar Sinai, b'shana hashinit, v'tzeisam me'ez Mitzrayim, b'chodesh horishon. So it tells you exactly. The Torah is interested in time. When the Torah gives you a date, it seems like Torah wants to be orderly. In the beginning of the Chumash of Bamidbar, I'm going to read again, the very beginning of Bamidbar, again the Torah gives us man. The Torah seems to be very organized and orderly. It tells you when it happened. When did Hashem count the Jewish people? By Dabar Shalom Moshe, be'echad lachodesh hasheni, ba'ashana hashenis, ba'chodesh hasheni. In the second year, and he tells Moshe, count the Jewish people. So in both places, you're listening, in both places, both in this week's parsha and in 2 weeks ago's parsha, it tells you an exact timing. Oh, I would have thought, when Torah is not involved in chronological order, when it doesn't give you a time. But when Torah is giving you an exact time when something happened, I would think if it's giving you a timeline, it's trying to be orderly, at least then it would go in order. And the chiddush of this week's parsha is that even when the Torah gives you exact dates when something happened, it can mention a later date before an earlier date. Now, what does Rashi say? Let's get to the meat of the actual meat of the Sicha, which I wanted. I'm going to skip the beginning because the beginning is going to be too long and a little bit intricate. Let's get to the middle of the Sicha. After Rashi explains that the Torah is not a history book, and even when it tells you time, it doesn't tell it in order. Rashi asks, but why did the Chumash Bamidbar not start with the story of the Korban Pesach? Take a look at page 75. Page 75, where it says Gimel on the second side. Let's see it inside, a little bit inside. Shailas Rashi, Belama lo patach bezu. Why didn't the Chumash Bamidbar begin with the story with the Korban Pesach? It would have been such a nice beginning. Belama lo patach bezu mipnei gnutan shel Yisrael. Because this parsha, although it talks about the fact that Jews did the mitzvahs, it's a good thing, but there's some kind of disgrace here. What's the disgrace? What's not good? What's derogatory about this parsha of the Korban Pesach? That only once in 40 years did the Jews offer a Korban Pesach. None of the four, only once. They were in the midbar stuck for 40 years. Only once out of the 40 years did they offer a Korban Pesach. Doesn't look good. The Chumash does not want to start with something negative. The Bamidbar does not want to start with something negative. Here's the obvious question. Why is that negative? Hashem didn't command us. Did Hashem command the Jewish people to bring a Korban Pesach every single year while they're in the Midbar? No. He said when you arrive in Israel, that's when you'll start. It was a one time, there was once. He said, I'll give you a taste of what it's going to be later on. So this year, the second year when they came out of Egypt, you know what? This is the only year of the years I want you to offer a Korban Pesach. When they got stuck in the Midbar for 40 years, there was no longer the commandment was held back until they would arrive in Israel. So why is that disgraceful to the Jewish people if they only brought one when they're only commanded to bring one? I mean, if you're only commanded to bring one, you look bad if you only bring one? Hashem said only now. You can't bring a Korban Pesach until you arrive in Israel. So why would that be a bad beginning? So to make a long story short, let's see the inside first. Let's see the second paragraph after Gimel. At first glance, ain't move on. It's not understood. If we have a rule that there's no chronological order, so first of all, why is Rashi asking? Why is Rashi asking? Let's start with this. Why should we start with this? There's no chronological order. Rashi already just said that there's no chronological order. So what are you asking questions? Why do we not start the Chumash with this story here? Take a look at the next page. More clear. Page 76. Take a look at Dawid. This is what I wanted to really ask. Dawid, where it says Dawid. Mahu Agnus. And we also have to understand as Hatshuva, Mepnei Shehu Gnusan Shel Yisrael. Why didn't the Chumash Bamidbar start with the story of the Korban Pesach, even though it happened earlier? And it sounds like a good beginning, because it talks about the Jews follow the laws and they offered Korban Pesach. And even two Jews were, who were not obligated to do so because they were Tamei, demanded it, and Hashem gave what they want, and Hashem gave into them, allowed them to bring. So why would it be Gnus? And Rashi answers, Mipnei shehu gnutan shel Yisrael, v'kol 40 shana shehol Yisrael b'midbar, lehikrivu el pesach debelavad. They had only one Korban Pesach offered all 40 years. Doesn't look too good. But the obvious question is, look at the next page, 77. Mahi hagenos bekach. Why is it bad looking? Why does it look bad and disgraceful? Rashi explained in an earlier pasuk. Torah hakosov mitzvazu. The Torah linked this mitzvah of Korban Pesach bibiyatam la'aretz when they arrive in Eretz Yisrael. They were not obligated to bring a Korban Pesach. Just like, for example, some would say, "Oh, we haven't offered a Korban Pesach for so many hundreds of years. We're not supposed to. We're not allowed to. We're not Beis Hamikdash." Is that a disgrace? Yeah, but disgrace might be that we're in Golus. But you can't blame us for not offering Korban Pesach if we are without a Beis Hamikdash. That's the case. The Jews were told only when you enter Eretz Yisrael, then you will have the obligation. They haven't entered yet. So of course, if you're there 40 years, you haven't entered. The one time was the only time they did it. Hashem made an exception. Just once you'll do it, but you're not going to do it again until you arrive in Eretz Yisrael. So why is that a gnus? Why is that a bad? Why does it start? Why would that be something derogatory, disgraceful to the Jewish people that they only offered one Korban Pesach when they were not told to offer more than one? Hashem made an exception. Okay, you can bring one. This year you'll bring one Korban Pesach, and that's it. Koloma, in other words, they were told only when you arrive in Israel will there be a yearly Korban Pesach. That's the question. So some commentaries want to answer Ariella Melenkov, okay, here. Here on board. Some commentators want to answer, yeah, but you know what? But we were stuck in the midbar for 40 years. That's the bad part. Why'd you get stuck? Because you sinned with the Meraglim. Right, the spies, next week's parsha. So yeah, you're right. You have to wait till we get to Eretz Yisrael. You know, why are we waiting? You could have, had you not sinned with the Meraglim, with the spies, you would have gone to Eretz Yisrael right away and you would have offered. So it's not about the fact they didn't offer the Korban Pesach, it's about why did you sin with the Meraglim. So the Rebbe says, but wait a second, we haven't learned about the Meraglim yet. That's next week. How could Rashi be relying on something we haven't learned yet? And also, if you're going to say that it's the problem with the Meraglim, then all the mitzvos that you would do in Eretz Yisrael are held back. Why only Korban Pesach? But here's what the Rebbe says, something very powerful. I'll say it outside and we'll see it inside. It's only a Rebbe can say this. This is vintage Lubavitcher Rebbe. It's it's written all over the place. It's written all over him that it comes from someone like that. You know why it's a Shabda? Like, looks bad that we only open Arban, only one Korban. What did we see from here? Two Jews demanded from God. It's not a whole Jewish people, just two Jews demanded. We don't want to be left out. We don't want to be left out. We want it. And guess what? Hashem responded and said, okay, you'll get it. Even though it was out of order. Hashem never ordered such a thing. But if you really demand it, you really want it with your whole heart and soul, I'll almost change my rules for you. Wow. That's the case. Kal v'chomer. You know what a kal v'chomer is? Kal v'chomer? How much more so? I forgot the English word. Tory, something, whatever. Oh, so kal v'chomer means if two people can get what they want. Could you imagine if all the Jews would make a Hafganah demonstration? Nanachnu rotzim b'chol shana v'shana. L'hashliv Korban Pesach. We want it every single year. We don't want to be left out. Imagine Klal Yisrael getting together, all the Jewish people. We're sure they'll be able to accomplish. If two can accomplish, kal v'chomer, all, and they didn't. Nobody woke up and nobody said to Hashem, we want to offer it. Why should we wait? I understand there are certain agricultural laws like Truma and Meiser. For that you have to wait. But Korban Pesach is not an agricultural law. It's like putting on tefillin. Why should we wait? In other words, maybe Hashem was waiting for them to ask for it, and nobody asked for it. You know, Father knows best. Hashem knows best. We're okay. You're okay? Well, that's the Rebbe's answer. That's the Gnus. Why didn't you ask for it? Learn a lesson from the two people who got a second chance with the Korban Pesach Sheni. How about if you would have said, we want to have a Korban Pesach every single year on the 14th day of Nisan, we want to offer a Korban Pesach. We don't want to accept that we're exempt until we arrive in Israel. I know we're stuck here. We feel very bad about the fact we're stuck here, but we want to have a Korban Pesach. Not an agricultural law. Then comes the $1 million question, which throws a monkey wrench on the Rebbe's answer. The Rebbe himself asks, oh, really? It looks bad? So how come Moshe and Aaron didn't ask for it? They're pretty good people. How come Moshe didn't say to Hashem, why should we be left out? We want to have another, give us a chance to offer a Korban Pesach all the 40 years that we are in the Midbar. Moshe didn't ask for it. Aaron didn't ask for it. Yeshua didn't ask. No, none of these tzaddikim asked for it. But Moshe Rabbeinu himself didn't ask for it. You blame the Jewish people? The Rebbe says, you don't understand. Moshe is not a private person. Moshe is a nasi. He's a nasi. He's the heart and soul of all the Jewish people, everyone. On Shamat Walid. And therefore, he cares more about our dignity than he cares about his own ruchnius. Moshe understands the value of a Korban Pesach. If anyone understands it, it's Moshe. He said, I'd rather miss it. We won't have it. Because if we ask Hashem, if me and Aaron and myself will ask Hashem and we'll get it, it'll really look bad on the Jewish people. You see? If you ask for it, you get it. Why didn't you ask for it? If Moshe would have asked for it and Hashem would have granted his wish, it would look much worse for us. So Moshe did not ask for it, which takes away the blame on the Jewish people. Moshe's not asking for it. Why should we ask for it? So Moshe is Moshe Nefesh not to ask for the Korban Pesach so that we, Jewish people, shouldn't look so bad. To minimize the gnus. Gnus means the shame, the disgrace. Doesn't look as bad anymore because now Moshe didn't ask for it. I can't blame the Jewish people. But the real reason why Moshe didn't ask for it is not because he didn't believe he can get it. He was afraid if Hashem would grant his wish, it would look worse for us. That's a tzaddik. And I'll tell you another interesting what a Rebbe is all about. So who's the first Rebbe? Moshe Rabbeinu. Got all the signs of a Rebbe. Hashem tells Moshe, he was standing by the burning bush. He was watching the fire. What was he watching? He was watching October 7th. He was watching Jews being killed, the Holocaust, earlier throughout generations, sufferings, pogroms, expulsions, Holocaust, genocide. And the darkness, that's the fire. And the bush, and then Ukal doesn't get consumed. The Jewish people still survive. Wow. They're so special, they can survive all that. Why are they suffering so much? What's the reason for the suffering? Well, Hashem says, Hashem appears to him. And it says Hashem appears to Moshe, Elokei Avram, Elokei Yitzchak, Elokei Yaakov. He said, you want to know the answer to why suffering takes place? You want to know the answer to why people who are so good have to go through such torahs? And Moshe got very scared. No, I don't want to know the answer. I don't want to know the answer. No, he hit his face. Don't tell me the answer. Because if I know the answer, I won't be able to cry with all the Jewish people. I want to be on their side. So Hashem, Toda Rabba, Abal, Toda Rabba. Keep it to yourself. I don't want to know the answer. I don't want to understand. You know, a mother takes out a splinter from a child.
Because why?
Because then you won't be able to cry. You'd understand why we're suffering. He doesn't want to understand. He wants to cry with us. That's a Rebbe. Someone who says, I'd rather not know. Hashem was inviting him into his bedroom. Bo hina, Moshe, come to my bedroom and see the world from my perspective. See the world from my vantage point. You want to see how I see the world? What everything I do is just, it's tzedek v'yosher? Come. No Jew in the world ever got a gift like that. Could you imagine walking into Hashem's world and seeing the world from Hashem's point of view? Moshe gave all that up. However, later on in Chumash, before that I say so, what did Hashem say? Okay, you won. Because you don't want to know the answer, I will have to bring the Geula Shlema. I will bring now the Geula. And it will be B'tov Hanir V'Nigla. I will, destroy the Egyptians and I will give the Jewish people their freedom. So Moshe, by not accepting Hashem's gift, triggered God almost like he forced Hashem to once and for all stop the Gullus and bring the Geula. This is a Rebbe. This is what a Rebbe is all about. It's not a tzaddik. Obviously a tzaddik. It's much more than that. He's ours. He belongs to us. So when Hashem and the Jewish people have like a little rift, Moshe says, I'm on your side. I'm on the Jewish people's side. I'm on your side. I'm on the side of Klal Yisrael. I am one of you. I'm one of you. That's a Rebbe. Rosh B'nai Yisrael. Rosh, a head, is part of the body. The head is not like, a mediator, intermediary between Hashem and the Jewish people. The head is the whole body. The whole person is the brain, is the head. The brain runs the show. This is what a Rebbe is all about. Just heard a story today. I heard it from Rabbi Paltiel this morning. Funny story. Not negated what we're learning, but it's only a story right now. There was a Jew, not a Lubavitcher Jew at all, but a very strong believer in the Rebbe. The Rebbe does miracles. He had a terrible seasickness, cancer, sartan, mamir, Shlav Dalit. And he passed by dollars or Fabregan, I'm not sure whether I think it was dollars. Tells the Rebbe, they found something. Masano, mamir, gidul. He was a believer. You know what? He didn't have. They told you must have surgery, and even surgery probably won't help. But you must have surgery right away, or otherwise you're finished. He said the Rebbe made a joke out of it. So the Rebbe, a tzaddik does that. What is the Rebbe saying? You don't need anything. So he didn't go for surgery. He didn't go to the doctors. Not only told the doctor I don't want surgery, he didn't go back to the doctors. Goodbye. He ignored them. He ignored all their appointments. Fast forward 20 years later, it's after Gimel Thomas. The sickness came back. They took it. That happens sometimes. But 20 years later. Now his question is, what the Rebbe told me, was that just for then or also for now? Then no. So he called in a bunch of people that he respected, not Chabadniks, far from Chabad. And he said, Kach v'kach, the Rebbe says Kach v'kach 20 years ago, I'm alive. So you see his brachas were Mekuyim. Right? You know my story. I'm alive today with the Rebbe's brachas. Does it apply now or only apply then? Now, 20 years later, now I have to now I have to go to a doctor. Now I have to take it seriously. And they all said, no, does not apply now. It only applied then, and you have to take it seriously. You have to go through Derech HaTeva right now. He goes to the Ohel, and he writes a letter to the Rebbe upon, Rebbe, I want to apologize. Even though you said what you said 20 years ago, even if it turns out to be that you still mean today, I have to tell you, I'm not going to listen to you. And I'm going to listen to the advice of the people that I spoke to. And I hope you forgive me for that. He walks out of the oil, goes into the video. What does he see? The Rebbe is talking to him 20 years before and saying, the exact video of the first time. He went, personal story. I teach Chassanim. No, I told a story once before, I think, but I'll tell it again. I got in trouble a few years ago. But Majeski told me, don't do it, be careful, don't say it. I'll take a chance. I got in trouble 2 years ago. I said this and a girl went, you like what I have to say.
Why?
I'll tell you what. You can't hear me?
Yeah. So, why not to tell? What?
I'll tell you what it is, I tell Chassanim that it's very important not to use birth control, not to wait. I want to have some fun, honeymoon, wait 4 or 5 years and then have children. Because you're getting married, just not wait. It's very important not to wait. This chassid I was teaching was not happy with what I had to say. I knew right away he's not maskim. I said, I'm not telling you what to do. I'm just telling you what the Rebbe says. Now, let me tell you something. This I didn't hear from the Rebbe. This is when I made it myself. I think it's right, but I didn't hear this from the Rebbe. When you have a hard time, you really don't want to have children. You really don't want, and you have good reasons for it. Maybe I'm not ready for it. I'm not emotionally ready for it. Some people are scared to start a family too soon. I just got married. I'm so scared. Whatever the reason is, unless it's health, if it's B'riyat HaGuf or B'riyat HaNeshama, mental illness, physical illness, or the marriage on shaky grounds, it's a different story. But if the marriage, there's no reason to suspect that the marriage won't last. There's no reason to believe that's going to happen. And the couple are both healthy physically and mentally, even though they might be young. He's 20 and she's 19, only 14 and 12. They should have children right away and not start their marriage with birth control. I'll tell you why. I said, the fact that it's so hard for you and you don't want it, it's probably a sign, min hashamayim, that the child that you don't want is a very special neshama. And the Satan is trying to hold back this neshama from coming down to this world. And therefore he's convincing you, no, I'm not ready. You know what Hashem says when a couple says, I'm not ready? There are so many people that are crying for children. They're ready. Oh, you're not ready? Okay, I'll give the child you were supposed to have, that neshama, to that person. You'll get another kind of, not a nachas child, a child that will give you a lot of aggravation. You'll have children, but you won't have the child you were supposed to have. Either the fact that it's so difficult for you to want to have children, the fact that it's so difficult could be proof that the Satan is trying to hold back because he doesn't want a very special neshama to come down to this world. Or in the schus of your doing something that you don't want to do, that's right, Hashem will also, even though you might not be worthy of it, will give you also a very, very beautiful child. More than what you would believe. Me, a child like this, So it's one of the two. Either it's a sign that it's a special trial because that's why you're having a hard time, or the schus of overcoming iskafia, overcoming your desires of wanting to wait, and you don't wait, Hashem will bless that person with a special trial. I'm told. He tells me, "Thank you, Rabbi, but no, thank you." Lapoga malonoga. I had zero effect. If the Rebbe would tell me, maybe different story, but with all due respect, Rabbi, you're not the Rebbe. He goes to the Ohel. He comes back the next class and he says, Rabbi, you won't believe what happened to me. I went to the OL with my kala, with my wife. No, with my kala. He wasn't married yet. And this is in between classes with him. I have different classes. So between one class and another, he went to the OL. The second class, he comes back. We went to the OL for something else. I go into the video room. What's playing? The Rebbe is screaming against Tichnun Mishpacha, family planning. Of all the sichos, there are hundreds, thousands of sichos. That sichos to be playing, it shook me. And both of us, maybe the Rebbe is telling us. How else could the Rebbe tell us, if not from the video? They decided to have child, and about 10 months later, the child was born on Gimel Tammuz. And the child's name is Menachem Mendel. Wow. And he tells me, Rabbi, this child is giving us such nachas. It's such a sweet, gorgeous child. Doesn't hardly cry. So sweet, so beautiful. Thank you so much. So this is just one story. I told this to Mrs. Morozov, who's going to give me a class. She's going to give me a class in Bias or one of the subjects. Yeah, this week she comes.
She already did.
Oh, she came already.
Yeah.
So I told her this story. She's not an easy person to get excited about anything. No, he's tough. She went, wow. But when I told the story a few years ago, there was one girl who was very liberal, very left, and she didn't like what I had to say. She went to Rabbi Dusty, complained, I don't like what you have to say. Not the first time. But I took a chance. I don't know if someone else will complain to right now. I have no idea. I can't tell.
What about if you want to build your home like with the husband, like before you have kids?
So when you have a child, that helps the building.
Okay, but I need to know my husband. When I'm married, so I need my time with my husband before I'm.
You have 9 months to know him.
What?
You have 9 months to know him. I mean, how long do you want to know him for? 5 years?
I don't know, like what, 1, 2 years, yeah.
Why? What's wrong with 9 months? And it might not be 9 months. Hashem might wait also. Who says you're going to have children right away? Not everyone has a child right away. It could be. Hashem, listen, here's what you have to be talking about. Hashem also knows what's best for you, right? Yeah, he created you. I think he's pretty smart and knows you better than you know yourself. And as long as you're not doing anything stupid or irresponsible, like if you're not well, begashmiyut or beruchniut or hakol hakesher, is vain. Then no, then it's a mitzvah not to have children. Then it's a mitzvah not. Then you have a chiyuv to take birth control, if that's the case. But if everything is normal, just I feel comfortable. Maybe I need to know my husband better.
It's not good. Like
you can know him from you. You know what? If you're right about that, you're gonna need to know him better. Hashem will make you not. You won't be a parent until he'll give you time. Trust him. He knows better. He knows what's best for you. That's what you have to have. That's what we're talking to.
There is no fair today. Like if you want to wait.
There are hetain because a woman says, Rabbi, I can't. I'll go crazy. But then maybe But I think the Kala teacher has the job of telling the Kalas, don't be so scared. I always feel scared at the beginning, but don't worry about it. Don't worry. It's not, And Hashem cares about you. He's your father. Avinu Shabbat Shamayim. He cares. Especially if you're keeping Torah Shabbat Shvacha. You're doing what he wants. You think he's going to, I'll give my child right away. And he'll obviously, if he feels, and he knows you better than you know yourself, Shira. He knows me better than I know myself. I don't know if I'm saying much. I don't really know myself very well. Hashem knows us much better than we know ourselves. I can't figure myself out a lot of times. A mystery. So my wife can't figure me out. I can't figure myself out. So we're weird.
Yeah, but it's fun.
But Hashem knows that.
It's what's fun in the life, like to know it, to know every
You'll
day
know.
more.
You'll have time. You'll have time. You don't have to listen to me. I'm not forcing
No,
you.
but I'm saying about like we don't know like ourselves. it's
I'm
fine, because,
saying me, I'm just talking about.
כן, yeah, but it's fun, because אתה מגלה את עצמך מחדש like every day.
And you know, and helps you to be the Gala your Atma. When you keep the rules of Hashem, then Hashem makes you understand who you are.
נכון? Why?
So therefore, by following the laws of Taz Mashpach, I'll tell you something interesting. There was a couple complaining, my mother-in-law is ruining my marriage. She's ruining my marriage. So the Rebbe says, don't blame it on your mother-in-law. As far as I know, the problem you're having is you're not keeping Taz Mashpach properly. The Rebbe said this. To another couple, to another mother, a mother complained about I don't want to say about with for Bengal, but the mother told the Rebbe, my daughter is married 5 years, and there's no children yet. So the Rebbe said, I don't feel comfortable saying this, but as far as I know, your daughter is not adhering, not listening to the rules of Taz Mashpacha, not keeping marital laws. If that's true, it's a bracha. She does not have children yet. Because a lot of issues with babies, with problems, all kinds of sicknesses, come from a lack of adherence to Taz Mashpacha. I'll tell you a story. There was a couple kept on having miscarriage, hapala, one after the other. Miscarriage after miscarriage, like 4 or 5 times. They wrote into the Rebbe, learn the halachas over again. They learned it over again. V'adayin. The Rebbe told there's one halacha you're not focusing on. What are we allowed to do during the weeks that she's nida? What is allowed? So one of the things that they didn't know, you're not supposed to like fold the towels together with your wife, or you have the plastic disposable tishtach. Very easy, much harder to do with one person. 2 people from Machaya, they were doing it. When they realized that was wrong, they thought, oh, that's simple. They didn't even think that was so important. They thought it was a mikvah and all the halachas, all the much more complicated, more intricate. When they stopped doing that, they stopped having hapolot. Someone said to them, I know people that don't not from, and their children are very healthy and happy. They're very living a happy life. The Rebbe says, first of all, you don't know. I happen to know because they write to me. They don't write to you. So I know you don't know what's going on. Everyone writes all their private issues to everyone. Number 2, you also can't rely on that because some people have special schusim. And a person can jump off a roof and somehow survive and with no injury. Oh, that's the case. Jumping off a roof is not a problem. No, it means that person was very lucky. So I'm just sharing this with you. I don't know why I'm sharing this with you. Not part of the class, but it's the end of the year, and so we can play around with it. Next Tuesday, there's no for bringing the whole class thing. But this is a hachlan. It's almost the last Tuesday. So that's why I went off on a tangent. I didn't prepare by that, but what I'm saying right now came mama's right now on my head. I didn't, not what I'll tell you. It just, I didn't prepare this. I prepared to learn with Sicha with you. But as I'm learning this thing. Any questions?
That's Allison. May I join?
Of course. What's your name?
Allison.
I hear your name a lot. You're very famous. I don't know.
Wonder who it could be.
So where are you from? Where are you from, Allison? What's your Hebrew name? Which name do you like better?
I do go by Allison.
Okay.
Of course, I do a bit more steps.
That's what I'm not gonna hear. Where are you from? That's a place where even angels get lost. Oh, yeah, I saw you on the. How you here? Next Tuesday, we're gonna have a Fabrengen. I don't know what I'm Fabrengen about. That comes, I don't prepare anything, everything's on the spot. So right now, we have 2 more minutes. Any questions? Those questions? No questions? You have questions, Shiva? You don't want to ask in public, want to ask in private?
Fine, I don't know.
You don't know what?
It's fun.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
I'm not a big expert giving answers, but I like to hear questions.
No, it's fine. I don't know.
Okay. I do have.
Yeah. One.
Where's Mashiach?
Yeah.
What do you all plan to do next year?
I'm coming back.
You coming back? You made my day. What about you? Great.
Oh, me? Oh.
Allison,
Oh,
Rivka,
I'm working days with,
working with Rivka? You teach there?
going to next day.
Oh, wow. You in the first class here? Are you, what do you learn? Are you in the grade level 1? You're skipping this class, but you don't want to be a next year class after it. Ariella, what are you doing?
I don't know,
That's a good answer.
but I have to get a job.
Mhm. What is Bailey doing?
America Shem and Eric's Frau. Yeah, no,
Oh.
I just read that she obviously I have a plan. No, America Shem, I'll be, if not in Eric's Frau, then working here in Crown Heights. Well, living here in Crown Heights,
Babysitting?
commuting to Masley High School.
Oh, nice.
Beautiful.
And got really married.
Is your first year here or second year?
I came last year, January, so a year and a half.
Nice. Honored.
No, if your class was, would you switch with Rabbi Majeski on certain days so I could come in the morning to her class before work?
I don't think so. I eat in the morning.
Ah,
Yeah.
you-
תודה רבה. כל הברכות. So, but talked about at the beginning, I want you to pass along that message of the importance of the Shalheves Olam Aleha, the flame, be self-sustained, it's very important. When you leave, how strong is your fire? Because very often you see what's out there, you see the so-called real world, and you get pulled into it. So this is Gan Eden. This is Gan Eden Mamish. You have a majestic amazing. You have such great, people that care, that are devoted. You can see, there's always an exception to every rule, but generally all the teachers are very, very. I see it. They're committed and they give it again, devoted, care about. Think about your students even when you're not teaching. Even when you're late at night. You're thinking, how can I make it better? How can I inspire them more? But it doesn't until now. This is what that's a good sign of a good teacher, that you're not just teaching when you're teaching, but you're thinking about the students even when you're not teaching. Okay? Not teaching now. Test on what you know. The main thing is the Yiras Shamayim. The main thing is building a beautiful Jewish home, open home, a beautiful, whether it's going on shlichus, it's not going on shlichus, but everyone where you are, you're a shlucha, and you're indispensable. There's no two people. You're the only person. That's you. There's no second you. Everything goes for everyone here. Everyone is indispensable. Think about that. The Rebbe is the one that tells us that every single one is, diamond, is unique. We all have our tests. We have our difficulties. Everyone has, trials, things we have to go through, and but we succeed. At the end, we succeed. So, sorry, I didn't do much of the season, but this is whatever.
So how do you keep the fire going in summer? When we're not in summer?
You know the story of the late. I'm finished for this. Rabbi, this is a relic from Italy. He said, when I learned in a non-Chabad school, I was told it's very dangerous to do kiruv because, like hot water, you put hot water into cold water. Well, the hot water heats up the cold water, but the hot water now gets cold. That's what's going to happen to you. So when she came to Chabad, she said, "Oh, that's a good muscle. I'm scared." So he told her, "Yeah, perfect muscle if the hot water is not on the fire. But when you're connected to a fire, you don't get cool. The fire is the Rebbe. You're going to keep a kesher with the Rebbe, who's the Rebbe of all Jewish people, not just a nice static out there individual. Then you have the power of being a car of people without them having an impact on you, a negative impact on you. And you have the same chayes the energy the Rebbe has, which is a feeling of love. I know shluchim that couldn't speak English very well, and they have much more success in their schools than professional modern Orthodox rabbis who can talk and they have learned, went to college, and the guy can't understand how the guy can't even talk to save his life, and his school is expanding because they see. You ever give the example of the pilot and the surgeon? Talk about it next week.
Okay.
Why Chabad is more matriach because of the example of the pilot versus the surgeon. Wait next week.
Thank you.
Thank you.